They lied about the math. The disruption signal didn't freeze them. It rang the dinner bell. I'm broadcasting this from Sublevel 9, Sector 12. If you're hearing this on the emergency band, you need to know what really happened. Not the sanitized briefing they're feeding to the shelters. Not the heroic last stand propaganda. The truth. Project Medusa failed. The resonance disruptors went live at 0600 hours. 6 convergence points. 6 cities. The Titans were supposed to lock up. Neural paralysis. Living statues. That's what Dr. Eris Thorne promised the Joint Chiefs. That arrogant bastard stood in front of the entire continuity of Government Council and said, "Gentlemen, we're about to turn evolution backwards. Give me 48 hours." He got his 48 hours. And here's what happened instead. The signal hit. All 6 disruptors fired simultaneously. For exactly 11 seconds, there was silence. Complete radio blackout. Every monitoring station from Firebase Omega to the Australian Deep Station lost telemetry. And in that silence, hope. Genuine, stupid, human hope. Then the screaming started. The Titans didn't freeze. They synchronized. The hexagon they'd been forming across the planet snapped into perfect geometric alignment. And the frequency we used to try and shut them down. It acted like a carrier wave. They started communicating. Not with sound. With intent. With purpose. The last transmission from the Tokyo convergence site said 3 words before the line went dead: "They're all awake." But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to understand how we got here. You need to hear the timeline. Because in 72 hours, this frequency gets buried with me, and someone needs to know we didn't go quietly. So let me take you back. Back to day 1. Back to when we still thought we could win. Look, I've spent the last 6 weeks piecing this together from recovered black box data, encrypted military comms, and one very illegal server backup from the CDC's emergency response database. What I'm about to tell you is reconstructed from eyewitness accounts, satellite telemetry, and a whole lot of redacted documents that I definitely shouldn't have. Here's the thing about the end of the world: it doesn't announce itself. No countdown. No meteor on the horizon. No zombie outbreak spreading from a known epicenter. It just appears. Simultaneously. Globally. Without warning. May 17, 0430 GMT. 6 locations. 6 massive objects breaking through the Earth's crust like it was tissue paper. Tokyo. New York. Sao Paulo. London. Mumbai. Sydney. Perfect global distribution. Equidistant. Coordinated. The first one breached in Tokyo Bay. Naval radar picked up the seismic signature 8 seconds before visual confirmation. By the time the JSDF scrambled helicopters, it was already standing. 290 feet tall. Bipedal. Humanoid but wrong. Like someone took the blueprint for a human and scaled it up without caring about the physics. Obsidian black skin with veins of something that pulsed blue-white. Not bioluminescence. Something else. Something that made Geiger counters scream. They called it Titan 01. Within 90 seconds, the other 5 emerged. Same profile. Same height. Same eerie, deliberate movements. They didn't rampage. Didn't attack. They just stood there. Breathing. Observing. And that's when the math guys started panicking. Because here's the question no one wanted to ask out loud: how does something that size exist? The square cube law says anything over 100 feet tall collapses under its own weight. Bones shatter. Organs fail. Basic physics. But these things? They moved like they weighed nothing. Like gravity was a suggestion. The first hypothesis came from a microbiologist at the WHO, Dr. Sarah Chen. She was monitoring the atmospheric readings from the Sydney site when she noticed something. The air around Titan 06 was saturated with microscopic particles. Organic. Cellular. And here's the kicker, they were active. Replicating. Adapting. She called them Titan cells. Within 4 hours, we had samples. Within 8 hours, we understood. These things weren't biological in the traditional sense. They were hyperadaptive cellular colonies. Every cell in their body could shift function on demand. Need denser bones? The cells restructure into a diamond lattice framework. Need more oxygen? The cells become hyper-efficient CO2 scrubbers. They were biological perfection. Purpose-built for survival. And that's when someone asked the really terrifying question, built by who? But wait. Before we get into the conspiracy theories, let me tell you about Convoy Alpha. Because this is where the optimism died. Day 1, Hour 6. The Titans had been standing motionless for nearly 2 hours. Governments were still in denial mode. The official line from the White House was, geological anomaly. The Kremlin said, tectonic event. China went full media blackout. But the Pentagon? They went kinetic. Operation Thunderstrike. Convoy Alpha, 16 M1 Abrams tanks, 40 Bradley fighting vehicles, air support from 2 Apache gunships, and a little surprise package, a tactical nuke with a 5 kiloton yield. The plan was simple, establish a perimeter around Titan 02 in New York, probe for weaknesses, and if things went south, turn Midtown Manhattan into a crater. Lieutenant Marcus Webb was the tank commander for Alpha 7. I've got his helmet chem audio. It's 4 minutes and 37 seconds long. Let me play you the last minute. Alpha 7 to Firebase Omega, we are at 1,000 meters and closing. No movement from the target. Repeat, Titan 02 remains stationary. Switching to thermals. Firebase, I've got nothing. No heat signature. It's reading colder than ambient air. How is that possible? Alpha 7, disregard. Weapons free. Light it up. Roger that. All units, commence fire. Sabot rounds, center mass. Direct hits. Multiple penetrations. Wait, Firebase, the impact craters are closing. I say again, the damage is regenerating. How do we, oh God? Oh God, it's moving. Alpha 7, fall back. Fall back now. It's looking at us. It's, Firebase, we need that nuke authorization right now. Alpha 7, nuke is authorized. Airdrop in 30 seconds. Clear the zone. We're not gonna make it. We're not. The nuke detonated. 5 kilotons. Direct hit. Titan 02 was at ground zero. Here's what happened next. The blast radius vaporized Convoy Alpha. 16 tanks, 40 IFVs, and 237 soldiers turned to ash in less than a second. The shockwave leveled 12 city blocks. The thermal pulse ignited everything within a half-mile radius. And Titan 02. It walked out of the fireball. Not limping. Not damaged. It walked out like it had been standing in a gentle rain. The adaptive cells had absorbed the radiation, converted the thermal energy, and restructured the blast damage in under 90 seconds. But here's the part. That broke the Joint Chiefs, it was faster now. Stronger. The nuke didn't hurt it. It fed it. That's the adaptation paradox. You hit these things with energy, they don't break. They learn. They improve. Every weapon we throw at them makes them better. By hour 12, the doctrine changed. No more military engagement. No more bombs. No more bullets. The new plan was simple, run. Hide. survive. And that's when they started building the shelters. Now, normally when a government tells you to evacuate, there's a plan. Routes. Staging areas. FEMA camps. The illusion of order. This wasn't that. This was triage. This was, we have limited space underground and too many people above ground. This was the moment humanity stopped pretending everyone gets saved. The math was brutal. The continental United States had 330 million people. The deep shelters, the ones built during the Cold War and retrofitted for nuclear continuity, had a combined capacity of 208 million. That's 63%. 63% survival rate. Which means 37% didn't make the cut. And here's how they decided who lived: lottery. Digital lottery. Your social security number got plugged into an algorithm. Green light. You got a barcode and a convoy escort to sublevel 4. Red light. You got a pamphlet on surface survival strategies, and a polite suggestion to seek shelter in rural areas. They called it the Fair Chance Protocol. It was bureaucratic genocide. I've got footage, well, I've got audio, of the panic outside the Denver Processing Center. Day 3, Hour 18. The red light families figured out what was happening. That the convoys leaving the city weren't coming back for a second round. That this was it. The National Guard opened fire when the crowd tried to rush the gates. 47 dead. 112 wounded. All American citizens. All just trying to survive. And you want to know the worst part? The guard wasn't even wrong. If they'd let the crowd through, the shelters would have overcapacitated. Oxygen recyclers would have failed. Everyone would have died. So they made the hard call. They shot fellow Americans to save the ones with green lights. And the Titans? They just kept standing there. Watching. Like they were waiting for something. Let me tell you about Daniel and Marcus Reeves. Father and son. Boston. Green light family. I've got Daniel's personal audio diary. He recorded it on his phone during the convoy ride to sublevel 4. His kid, Marcus, age 7, kept asking questions. And Daniel? He lied. He lied to his son with the kind of practiced calm that only a parent facing the end of the world can manage. Dad, why can't we see the sky anymore? Because we're going somewhere safe, buddy. Somewhere the bad things can't reach us. But what about Grandma? She had a red light. Grandma's gonna be fine. She's tough. She's gonna stay on the surface and help the people who need to stay up there. Is the surface scary now? No, buddy. It's beautiful. There's just different rules now. And we have to follow our rules, which means we go down here for a while. How long? I don't know. But I promise you, when we come back up, we'll build something amazing. We'll build a whole new world. Okay, Dad. I believe you. Daniel Reeves died on day 47. Medical log says, acute stress-induced cardiac arrest. But I talked to a guy who was in his barracks. Daniel didn't die from stress. He died from guilt. From the weight of lying to his kid every single day. From knowing that there was no new world waiting above. Marcus is still alive. Sublevel 4, Sector 8. He's 11 now. And he still believes his dad's lie. Maybe that's mercy. Maybe it's cruelty. I don't know anymore. So what happened to the red light families? The ones who didn't make the cut. They adapted. Because that's what humans do. We adapt. The surface became a scavenger economy. Cans, batteries, meds. The trinity of survival. You looted the empty suburbs. You avoided the cities where the Titans stood. You moved at night because, and this was never officially confirmed but everyone figured it out real fast, the Titans tracked movement during the day. They weren't blind at night. They just didn't care. Like they were on some kind of schedule. There were radio networks. Pirate frequencies. People sharing intel about safe routes, where to find clean water, which highways were Titan migration paths. And here's the thing, for about 2 weeks, it almost worked. The surface survivors developed a system. They stayed quiet. Stayed mobile. Stayed alive. But then the Titans started moving. Day 15. All 6 of them. Simultaneously. They stepped away from their emergence sites and started walking. Not toward each other. Toward specific coordinates. Coordinates that formed a perfect hexagon when plotted on a map. Tokyo to New York, 6,730 miles. New York to Sao Paulo, 4,760 miles. Sao Paulo to London, 5,780 miles. London to Mumbai, 4,480 miles. Mumbai to Sydney, 5,960 miles. Sydney back to Tokyo, 4,840 miles. 6 points. Perfect geometric distribution. And that's when Dr. Eris Thorne entered the picture. Dr. Eris Thorne. MIT. Double PhD in bioacoustics and quantum field theory. Arrogant. Brilliant. And absolutely convinced he could stop the Titans. His theory was simple, the Titans were operating on a shared frequency. A hive mind. If you could identify that frequency and disrupt it, you could sever the neural connection. Turn 6 coordinated threats into 6 confused animals. He called it resonance disruption. The brass called it Project Medusa. Because if it worked, it would turn the Titans to stone. Thorne's presentation to the Joint Chiefs is part of the public record now. Well, it was before they scrubbed the servers. I've got a transcript. Let me give you the highlights. Gentlemen, the Titans are not invincible. They're a biological system, and all biological systems have a critical frequency. The Earth itself resonates at 7.83 Hz, the Schumann resonance. My hypothesis is that the Titans are tuned to a harmonic of that frequency. If we can generate a counter-frequency, a dissonant wave, we can induce cellular paralysis. Think of it like noise-canceling headphones for their entire nervous system. The Chief of Naval Operations asked the obvious question, and if you're wrong? Thorne's response, then we're already dead. At least this way, we go down swinging. They approved it. Full funding. Unlimited resources. And a deadline, 48 hours before the Titans reached their convergence points. Because here's what the orbital satellites had confirmed, the Titans were converging on 6 specific locations that formed a hexagon. And when they reached those points, they would be exactly 2,000 miles apart from each neighbor. Perfect symmetry. Perfect alignment. And nobody knew what would happen when they got there. But every simulation, every predictive model, every gut instinct said the same thing, nothing good. Walls. And the Titans? They own the house. There are voices, conspiracy voices, saying this was always the plan. That the Titans are bioengineered. That someone, somewhere, decided Earth needed a reset and this was the method. I don't know. I don't have proof. But I'll tell you this, the mathematical precision of their emergence, the hexagon, the frequency, none of it feels accidental. Purpose. That's what keeps me up at night. The idea that all of this had purpose. That we were never the dominant species. That we were just keeping the seat warm. Look, I don't know how much longer this frequency stays live. The shelter administrators are cracking down on unauthorized broadcasts. Too much defeatist rhetoric. They want us focused on survival. On hope. But hope is a resource, and we're running out. If you're hearing this from one of the shelters, hold your people close. Ration smart. And for God's sake, don't let the kids know how bad it is. Let them have their lie. Let them believe in the new world. If you're hearing this from the surface, if you're one of the red light survivors still scavenging out there, I need you to do something for me. I need you to record. Document. Bear witness. Because in 100 years, if anyone survives this, they need to know what happened. They need to know we tried. That we fought. That we didn't just roll over. And if you're something else, if you're one of the titans listening to this frequency, learning our language, understanding our fear, then hear this. We see you. We know you're not mindless. We know there's intelligence behind those eyes. And maybe you have a reason for what you're doing. Maybe in your biology, in your purpose, this makes sense. But you need to understand what you're taking from us. Every parent who lied to their child to spare them terror. Every soldier who walked into fire to buy others time. Every nurse who held a stranger's hand as the world ended. That's humanity. That's what you're erasing. So if there's any mercy in your design, if there's any recognition of what we are, then finish it quick. Don't make us watch the slow collapse. Don't make us bury our children in concrete tombs. Just, let it be quick. This is Rogue Frequency 7.83. The Schumann Resonance. The Earth's Heartbeat. And this is my last broadcast. If you're listening, survive. Remember. And when the shelters fail, when the oxygen runs out, when the lights go dark for the last time, know that we were here. That we mattered. Stay quiet. Stay hidden. And whatever you do, don't let them hear you breathe. Frequency closing. Stay safe out there. Or don't. Maybe it doesn't matter anymore.